Hi, and a very good day. I bid to my dear lecturer, Dr. Asunta. My name is Nurul Izzati Binti Mohd Zaki from PTPP TESOL. So today I will be presenting and demonstrating the language teaching and learning activities for the genre the graphic novel. And this is from the e-teaching and learning kit that I have created. So you want to know what novel I have chosen? Without further ado, let's get started.
The Gingerbread Man.
Okay, so from the previous video, you might have an idea what's the title of the graphic novel that I will be using. So none other, the title is called as The Gingerbread Man, which is retold by Sue Arango. Actually, since I will be implemented the graphic novel to the level 1 where they don't have any prescribed text by the school, so I found that this text or this graphic novel is very suitable as the story is a very common and also the kids are familiar to the story, and the storyline is very simple to be followed, especially for level 1. So without further ado, let's get to see the activity based on the novel. So the activity that I will be implemented is called as the alternative scene. The detail of the activity will be explained on the next slide, but a brief introduction. This activity requires people to create an alternative scene where they need to create an alternative idea based on the novel. So in this sense, they get to exercise their creativity as well as their thinking skills, where they need to be creative in creating a new scene to suit the novel, or in a way they need to create another scene where they can get to see how the original scene in the novel is being shifted. So, as I said, since I will be using that particular novel for level 1, so this activity also is very suitable for level 1 primary school, and especially for year 3, which is a 9 years old kid, because I found that in year 3 they have got to be familiar with several structures, and since this activity require them to use a certain structure. Next one. Okay, so the content standard for this particular lesson is 5.3, which is to express an imaginative response to literary text, and the learning standard is 5.3.1, where the pupils need to respond imaginatively and intelligibly through creating simple action songs on familiar topics or other imaginative responses as appropriate. So we can see that the content standard and also the learning standard really emphasizes on the idea of creating or responding to the text imaginatively. So the main aim for this activity is actually to be able to use appropriate verb in describing actions, which will be vividly see in the activity later, where the pupil need to use a certain verb to describe an actions. Because we know that in order they learn language arts, but in that particular lesson also they need to be rich with other content, language content. So that's the main aim. And then the objective of this activity, I have put several objectives, which consists of the main objective as well as the other additional objective. So the main objective is basically reflected the aim, which is by the end of the lesson, pupils will be able to give alternative scenes ideas by using appropriate action verbs and structures. So that's the main aim. So the next one, pupils will be able to produce art and craft as the way to respond to the literary text, which is also reflected to the learning standard. And the next one, pupils will be able to enhance fine motor skills where when they're creating arts or craft, they will exercise their fine motor skill where they need to cut a certain things, or they need to paste something, or they need to tie something. So the next one is people will be able to gain insights about literature and appreciate the pace, because graphic novel, as we know, is a part of the literary work where primary school kids, they are still young and they get insight about literary text or literature at the very early age, and they need to be able to appreciate the pace, which is by responding to the text imaginatively. Alright, so the language skills involved in this particular lesson, there are two. The main one is speaking, and also the complementary one is writing. Because we know, like I said, even though we learn language, we cannot discard it. Oh, sorry, we cannot discard the skills that they are going to use in that particular lesson. So the language content, the main one is the, like I said, as the like the aim and so the main objective, which is the verb. They will be about action verbs such as run, climb, walk, bite, fight, and this action verb is really is very much related to the story, which is about the gingerbread man, uh, the gingerbread man action. And also they will be using as a structure, which is, if I were the gingerbread man, I will. All right, okay, so these are the language content that they will be taught or use they will be using in this particular lesson. Alright, so procedural description and demonstration. So now we come to the part where I will be bring you to the how I mean I will bring you to the way I implemented this activity. Actually, I've done this activity physically with my pupils, with my year 3 pupils, and I get to get their expression and also their experience, and I have asked for their parents' consent in order for me to incorporate their work and also their appearance in my assignment. So their appearance later will be I already get I've already received or asked for their parents' permission before I included them in the assignment. So yes, so the next one is, all right, so I will usually begin with set induction. Even though in the language art is very fun, it's very cheerful, we still need a set induction to begin with. So the set induction I have begin the inside induction by asking people to guess what's in the container. Okay, so basically I will come to the class with a container, like a lunchbox container, and I will ask them to guess what's in the container. But because I want them to I have an expectation like a certain answer I've expected them to give. So I've provided them with hints such as, can you guess what inside? This is something that you can eat. It has a body parts like you, and usually we serve it during Hari Raya or during several occasions such as Christmas. And fortunately, my pupils will manage to give me the expected answer that I've been looking for, and they have given me an answer like, oh, is it a cookies? Oh, is it a gingerbread man cookies? Okay, so yes, it's a gingerbread man cookies, because this is will give them the idea on what they're gonna learn. Because after I've told them about that, I will tell them that we are going to read a story about gingerbread man, which is about the novel about the gingerbread man. Alright, so the next one is about lesson delivery and activities, since we have done with the side induction. So, alright, so like I've said, I've told them that we are going to read the novel about the gingerbread man in the class. So actually, there are two options when I taught the novel. The first one, my school, they have the smart board thing, so it's very big, and the fonts are very clear. So I will display the graphic novel on the smart board, And also I will also have the hard copy print for each pupils. So actually the smart boards come very handy, especially when we want to exercise their reading, since we know that novel is quite lengthy. Sometimes they cannot read it by their own, so I usually ask them to read line by line, take turns, listen while others read, and also check their own printed copy. So actually there are two ways to read the novel, which is by displaying to the smartboard, where they get to read by turns, or also, and also check the printed copy. And I found that this technique is very how do I say, it's very suitable, because in order if I let them read by their own, sometimes primary school kids, they tend to get distracted. So when they take turns, they listen to their friends, and their friends are very close to them, so they get excited when their turn comes, and they will understand the story better in that way. Alright, so after they have read the novel, and also by using the smartboard and also the printed copy, I will ask them several questions regarding the novel. So since we know that the gingerbread man story involves several characters, such as the old man, the old woman, cow, horse, fox, and also the gingerbread man. So the characters are very vivid and also easily to be found, especially for level 1. So in order to check their understanding, the first one I will ask is about who are the characters in the novel, because characters in the gingerbread man are very vivid and also are very appealing. So, and I will also ask them who is the main character. Alright, so because I have taught them about literature before this, so they have the idea what is the main character. So basically, I've always told them main character is someone who lead the story, who controls the story. So they straight away give me the answer as the gingerbread man. So as for the first and the second question, I will provide worksheet for them to write the character, and they need to write the character based on the characters in the novel and also the main character. And after that, I will ask them, what do you think of the gingerbread man's action in the novel? So the answer that I've been looking for is actually the verb. I mean the verb run, because we know that gingerbread man always run in the novel. So I will prompt that with several questions. What do you think of the gingerbread man section? What you can see he always do, he always does, what he always does. So in that sense, I can elicit their answers, where they get to give me the my expected answer, which is such as they will say that, oh, gingerbread man's always run, he always run away. So that's the expected answer. And then I would ask them about the verb run. Okay, what they actually understand about the verb run. Can you show me how does we run? So they will show me how does we run. So that's basically how to get an idea before we proceed to the main activity, which is about the alternative scene. And also this activity where I ask about the characters, also the main characters in the novel, will somehow give me the insight that they actually understand the story, because they can list out the character, because the character appears according to the scene in the story. So when they can list out all the character, it means that they understand the story very well. So now we proceed to the activity, which is about the alternative scenes, since we have done with the reading the story and also ask them about their understanding, such as the characters and whatnot. So the alternative scene, okay. So basically, after we have done with all those things that I've mentioned, I will say to them, so now we will do another activity, which is we're gonna do an alternative scenes. So they might not get an idea what's actually an alternative scene. So I will tell them, you need to imagine yourself as a director. So when you are a director, you can alternate or provide different ideas of the scene. So basically, in that sense, they will understand what is actually alternative scenes. So I will tell them that they need to start on page 12, which is about where the gingerbread man met the fox. So I will ask them, where I will give them a situation. If you were the gingerbread man, what will you do? So basically, when I give them the situation, it will somehow initiate their thinking skill where they get to exercise. Oh, okay, so teacher wants me to create another scene if I were the gingerbread man in that particular novel. Because as we know that the scene where gingerbread man met the fox is actually the climax of the story, whereby it really it is a turning point of the gingerbread man's life when he met the fox. Hence, that's why I asked them to start on the page 12, which is about which is where the page he met the fox. And they need to change the scene where they need to give me how they want to do it. All right. So the next one. Okay, since they will be using action verbs in the alternative scenes, before we can proceed to alternate the scenes or to give alternative scenes, I will show them in an illustrator of action verbs, which means I will teach them several action verbs. And this particular handout I will give them, and they need to paste it in the book. And when I teach them these action verbs, I will teach them to say it out loud and also perform the action, such as run, clean, they need to like sweeping the floor, dance, walk. So when they get to know what are the action verbs, they will get an idea on how they can provide an alternative sense to the story that we have read just now. So basically, these are the these are the action verbs that they can use to provide me the alternative scenes ideas for that particular scene where the gingerbread man met the fox. Alright, so and the structure that they will be using is that if I were the gingerbread man, I will. So they need to use this particular structure when they do the alternative scenes after this. So the next one is alright. So they will create the gingerbread man's mask. Okay, so the rationale behind this activity is that when they need to provide me with the alternative scenes, they need to actually present it to the whole class. How they gonna present it? They need to wear the mask because they are the gingerbread men, right? So when they wear the mask, which is they will be the gingerbread men, they need to give me their own interpretation or their own alternative scenes ideas. So this is why I ask them to create the gingerbread man's mask. So when they create the gingerbread man's mask, they can decorate it nicely, and also they can color it according to their likings. Alright, so these are the result that I have done with my kids. As you can see, they are very excited and they are very creative when they create something. So all of them are now gingerbread men, and they are now have their own alternative since idea that they need to tell the whole class because they are now the gingerbread men in the story. Alright, so before we proceed to the presentation about the alternative ideas, they need to chant the famous line in the novel. Okay, so let's hear together. So the chant here is "You can't catch me because I am the gingerbread man." So the chant is actually to get their mood alive since they are wearing the mask before they need to present their alternative scenes. Alright, so let's hear together. Alright, so you can catch me because I am the gingerbread man. Alright, so this is where they get in the mood to present their art and craft and also their alternative scenes after this. Alright, okay. So the next one is where they get to present their alternative scene to the class. Alright, okay. So before they get to present this, like I've said just now, they have created the mask, and also I've given them time to think based on the action verbs that they have learned what they want to do if they are the gingerbread man. So that in that particular time, they will get to exercise and get to brainstorm based on the action verb, based on the structure that I've given, the alternative scene that they want to make if they are the gingerbread man. So let's listen to the one of the two of my pupils that I've recorded here. Alright, so the first one is Aidin. He is wearing the gingerbread man mask. And let's listen to his own alternative scene, shall we?
If I were the gingerbread man, I will run away from the farm as far as I can.
Very good. Okay, so Aidin said that if I were the gingerbread man, I will run away from the fox as far as I can. So here we can see the verb that he is using is run, even though he is using the verb run, which is something similar to the story, but when he added the next sentence, run away from the fog as far as I can, is something different, because gingerbread man in that story, when he cannot swim, he submit to the fog. So here we can see that the idea of the idea has here is very alternative, and which is different from the story, and he used the verb action verb, which is run. Alright, so the next one is, okay, so this is Aisha, and let's hear from Aisha's alternative scenes ideas, shall we?
If I were the gingerbread man, I will fight the fox.
Alright, so Aisha said here, if I were the gingerbread man, I will fight the fox. So we can hear that, we can see how she used the word fight here, because she knew that it is one of the actions that gingerbread man can do. So it is something very different from the original story, where the gingerbread man fighting with the fox. So it is very how do I say, it's very fun to do, especially with primary kids, where they are very imaginative with their own ideas. And also there are a few samples that I have not recorded, where he said that if I were the gingerbread man, I will climb and punch him. So that's a very good, that's a very good alternative sense, and a very good way to use action verbs, which means that they understand what is climb and what is punch. Um, and when I get to see this, I found that okay, my kids know how to use action verbs and how to use the structure that I've given. Alright, so the next one.
If I
Alright, so once I've done with everyone, I will provide feedback and recap the lesson. So the feedback is actually where I get to praise them. I will tell them about their effort on decorating the mask, and their effort to brainstorm the idea on how they're gonna make it, on how they're gonna create an alternative scene based on the story. And I will tell them that on their way to improve, especially on how to use the words and how to use the structure very appropriately. And I will recap again on the lesson where they learn about action verbs just now by by using the illustrator. I will show the illustrator on the smartboard and ask them to say out loud the verb and also perform the actions. And by doing this, I found that they get to understand the verb better, and they get to understand about the concept of verb, especially because verb is something that they need to perform. And when we do this, we can see that they understand that something that you need to perform is something, when you need to perform something, you need to do an actions. So they can use these the verbs that I have given them just now. All right, so the next one. Okay, so we have done with the main objective, which is about the action verb. So here is where the additional objective comes in, where pupils will write the moral values of the story in the worksheet 1, which is about the characters and also the main character. So moral values is something very how do I say, very close when we learn literature, because we need to know what's the impact, what's the meaning behind it. So I won't miss this on my pupils, even though we are focusing on the language, like we said the verb just now, but the moral values is also very important for them, because by doing this they will appreciate the piece of literature better. This is in my 2 cents, because I can see that my pupils, they are very excited when we want to learn about a poem, short story, or like this graphic novel, because they get to exercise their thinking skill, and also they get to tell me, this is right teacher, this is wrong teacher. So this is very good actually. So the moral values that they can give for this story is, the first one is, do not easily trust people. And also the second one is to be careful in everything we do, especially when they are still young kids. They need to be careful, do not easily trust people, and they need to be smart when they do something. All right, so these are the moral values, and they need to complete the worksheet that I've given. Okay, so as the conclusion, all right, so what I can conclude, okay, let me recap again. So the graphic novel that I've chosen is The Gingerbread Man, like I said, because I'm doing this for year 3, since they don't have any prescribed text. So I found that Gingerbread Man is actually very suitable for them, because it is very easy to follow. And the storyline is very direct, and especially for young kids, where they need to be when they are still young, and they need to get they still they don't have an exposure about literary text. And to complement the objective and also the aims, which is about the verb just now, and also about the about the action verb, I found it is very suitable, because in this story, Gingerbread Man, he always runs. He always run. I mean, he always move. He always perform actions. So when we want to learn action, like action verb just now, the story really helps actually, because when they get to provide the alternative scenes, they get to exercise the action verb that they will be using. So they will in this sense, they will be able to apply what they have learned, which is the action verbs, in creating the alternative scene if they were the gingerbread man. And also I found that this story is very besides it can complement the objective, it is also very good, especially for to give insight as about the moral values for their pupils. And pupils will be able to relate to the story itself. Okay, so since we have and I found that this story, the objective, we can achieve the objective that I've set just now, because my pupils are able to create an alternative sense by using the action verbs. Besides the learning standard that we have taken just now, which is to respond imaginatively, so I found that they create the mask, they are actually responding imaginatively in their own way, their own interpretation, because we can see that when when they created the masks are different from one another. So when they are different from another, it means that they are very creative and respond imaginatively to the literary text, and they also give their own thoughts, their own ideas about their alternative sense. So I found that the objective and also the learning standard, the learning outcome has achieved based on the activity, based on the graphic novel that I've chosen. So I hope that in the future that this story, I hope in the future that when I apply another story or another graphic novel, I will try as much as I can to give to enrich to reach the activity with the language content and try to achieve the objective like I have set for the gingerbread man. And before we end the presentation, my gingerbread man pupils want to say goodbye, and for that, thank you.